Hello guys, Team Agent 47 here. Team members are Suneet Jain, Tejas Samle, Varun Kumar Gupta and Vasu Gupta. We are going to cover a lot of different things in this video. So grab onto your popcorn and let's get started.
So let's look at the problem statement of our HPC project. So for any tool or software or any type of solution that exists in today's era, there was once always a problem statement. So someone really said that to invent you need a good imagination and a pile of junk. So in present era we have lots of data with us, and if this data is not processed, it's equivalent to the junk. We have so much data that we need large computation speed to compute them in less amount of time, but what we lack is the processing power. So to solve this issue in the great ocean of problems, we decided to speed up this computation of 2D fluid simulation using HPC. This 2D fluid simulation can be used in various places, naming some of them like in research visualization, in cartoons, in motion graphics, and even in many animated movies. This 2D fluid simulation can even act as a fundamental base for simulating different fluids in 3D at interactable speeds.
Okay, to explain the methodology, I'm going to use a flowchart as you can see in the picture right now. So as you can see that there's a driver code, and this is the main code that you guys will be using if you want to simulate this project. So we'll just pass the different parameters like density, diffusion coefficient, pressurization and stuff here, and that will change the way the fluid acts with the particles and the frames and other stuff. So first of all, we'll create an array. Since we are working on images and images are 2D arrays in the backend for any code, so we are going to work on arrays, like multi-dimensional arrays in this case, because it will be like an RGB image. So there will be 3 channels with an array of itself. So first of all, we process the initial frame and stuff, and then we send it to the temporal feedback loop. So what does temporal feedback mean? It usually means that the next frame will depend on the previous frame for getting an output. So you can think of it as, if you want to generate frame 1, you will need frame 0 to process the information available in frame 0 and generate frame 1 based on that. So that's the basic gist of temporal feedback, and this is the heart of a project in a way. As you can see, then we'll just process the first frame and apply the pressure and stuff on it. Then after that, we'll calculate the diffusion and viscosity as were passed by the driver code. Then after that, we are going to just check some conditions, whether the number of iterations are less than the maximum number of iterations that we require and stuff. If yes, then we'll just pass it back to the temporal feedback loop, and if no, then we'll just check for the frames if the number of frames is less than or equal to the number of frames that we require and stuff. And if it is, then we'll write the video using the utils.py. And just to remind you that both of these functions, the whole project is available on my GitHub, and I link that in my description below, so you can just download the project and play with it. So what I was saying is that in the video or utils.py thing, we are using a custom video writer. You would ask why. So since we are using Jaxlib, which is a library for HPC, so it returns the array in a particular format, and we have to you could say write the video in a particular format, write the images in a particular format. It doesn't work with the usual cv2.im, right, and stuff, the main libraries like the image library, Pillow, and the cv2 library. So we have to use a customized video writer. I'll link the GitHub repo for this video writer too in the description below, so you can check that out too. And in the end, we will get a sequence of frames, and that will be written into a video. So now I'll show you some of the simulations that we did and the results that we got. Just to remind you that all of these simulations were recorded, were generated in 35 seconds on the GPU, and on the CPU it takes an equivalent of 8 to 10 minutes. So that's quite a huge boost compared to the CPU. So we can see that HPC is working quite well on our project, and now you can see the different output results for our project. So the first one is with the density 1.0. So as you can see, the fluid is flowing quite flawlessly. In the second one, we have increased the density to 3, and you can see that there is less diffusion as compared to the 1.01. Then in the 5.0 there's even lesser, and in the next one, that will be the 10.0, there's even lesser diffusion, like the mixture of the fluid. So as you can see that these results are pretty good. So now we'll just like compare the time for the different thing. So as you can see in the graphs, in the first graph you can see that for 600 frames the GPU is taking quite less time as compared to the CPU. The GPU time was about 10 to 12 seconds when we performed the experiment or the simulation, and for the CPU it was around 600 to 610 seconds. So that's quite a drastic change between the time for the same number of frames at the same resolution. Jumping onto the second graph, we can see that the time remains almost constant with respect to each other, but if we compare the CPU and the GPU, the time difference is again quite a lot. So like I told you in the video simulations that I showed you before, that changing the parameters of the fluid won't affect the simulation time by much. It only affects the properties but not the time by much. So that is visible in this case. Then after that, you can also see in the final graph that changing the resolution also drastically changes the CPU time, whereas the GPU time is approximately linear, not exactly but approximately, whereas the CPU time is exponentially increasing. So we can say that HPC like speeds up the processes by quite a lot, and that it has been implemented properly in our project. So that was it for the video, and thanks for watching.